It's the goal of every competitive bass angler to reach the top and prove that you are the world champion.
Yeah!
And there's only one way to do it. Make it all the way to the Bassmaster Classic.
You watching the Bassmaster Classic, baby? Yeah!
The final push to the top is anything but easy. Performing in the spotlight with big crowds and under a media microscope. A single mistake can snatch the dream away from you. But if you make the right plan and make all the right moves, you'll stand above them all. You'll take home $500,000 in prize money alone and possess a title that can be worth far more than that. A title that validates your career. Let's start the final push to the Bassmaster Classic.
Let's get it started. The most important 3 days in the sport of professional bass fishing. The Bassmaster Classic 2007. There's your venue right there, Lay Lake between Birmingham and Talladega, Alabama. There are the boats, 50 of them, getting ready to start fishing on day one of 3 days of fishing. We used to end the season with the Bassmaster Classic. Now we kick off the season and take that momentum and go with it. But this is the big one. This is the one where we crown the world champion of bass fishing. Let's take a look at our Toyota rules of the game so you can follow the action better along with us. Again, 50 anglers. We'll take that down to 25 anglers on the final day. Each and every day of competition, they will fish for 8 hours. A 5-fish limit on each day. 3 days of fishing, the biggest 3-day total is what wins the $500,000, which wins all the accolades that accrue to the champion of bass fishing at this classic. Tommy Sanders here with Mark Zona. It's a big one. Can't wait to get it underway. Our Lay Lake venue here, very unique. I know you've never fished it in a tournament, but you've done a lot of research on this.
I did. You know, I spent my time down there, and Lay Lake is a different monster. This is going to set up to be one of the most unique classic we've ever had. If you think back to Lake Toho last year, really, if you found the right grass bed, the right lily pad field, you win the tournament. Lay Lake is a different monster. We have spotted bass. We have largemouth bass. Do I go upriver? Do I stay main lake? It's going to come down to the right decision in this one. And you got to kind of gamble to win this event.
Are we looking for big-time fish catching here, or more of a battle of attrition like we had in Pittsburgh?
And that's what's amazing. You know, the week before the Classic, it was brutally cold weather, but the fish, they're biting big time. We are not going to have a lack of fish catches today.
All right, well, let's take a closer look at our venue, Lay Lake, between, again, Birmingham and Talladega, Alabama. There it is, the state of Alabama down there. On the Coosa River, we find Lay Lake. Coosa River famous for bass fishing. Lay Lake's about 48 miles of that Coosa River, about 12,000 acres. Is that big enough for a classic?
It is, and there's two key parts of this body of water right now. The mid-lake area where the largemouth are hanging, and upriver where almost all the big spotted bass are coming from.
All right, we can't wait to get the fishing started, so we're going to get the fishing started right now. Let's take it out to Lay Lake. We're going to check in first with Ish Monroe, technically the last guy to win with the Bassmasters at the end of last season.
You know, and I got to be honest with you, Tommy. This fish catch right here is beautiful, but fishing the Bassmasters is all about focus. You're going to notice something right here. When Ish catches this fish, he has to remain focused. There's a lot of love on the lake today.
Yes! Woo! Yeah! Yeah!
It's your birthday! It's your birthday!
Hooters girls, hey!
Ish Monroe, very popular with the fans all over this country, very popular with the fans all over this country, and especially in Alabama, is this man right here, Gerald Swindle, looking to win one for his home state. No one's ever won the Classic in their home state.
It is a giant. I got to turn him. Come on, come on, come on. You don't know what you're watching. You're watching the Bassmaster Classic, baby! Yeah! Woo! Stinking largemouth. Oh my God, help me, Jesus. Lord, help me hold me real close and tight. You got time for a hug? Man, that line just barely tick. I put a little of that gas on him. Come on, come on, come on. Woo! Fired up there.
Let's take a look at what happened in the weigh-in on day number 1. We talk about the boys from Alabama trying to bring that classic trophy home. How about Randy Howell trying to do very well and does. Second place with 17.15, and Boy Duckett from Demopolis, Alabama, coming in with the big stringer of the day, 19 pounds and 14 ounces. There's your leaderboard. Duckett, Howell, Skeet Reese hanging right in there. Timmy Horton, another Alabaman. Terry Scroggins from Palatka, Florida. Tommy Biffle, Terry McWilliams, a Federation angler in the mix there as well. Let's take it out to the man from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, Timmy Horton, to start day number 2.
And this is the beautiful thing about fishing for spotted bass. When you find one, you find several.
Oh my goodness, if that ain't the way to start a day. Look at this. You think they're up there? Very rarely do you land both of them when that happens. You just hit a gold mine right there.
Now we're going to show you something from day number 2 that is not a fish catch, but probably was the most momentous event of the day. Randy Howell fishing in his hole. Gerald Swindle leaving that area. Randy gives him the signal to come on through, and he comes on through up on plane there, near a camera boat, near some spectator boats right there. And what have we just seen that? For that, he is disqualified from the competition. Talk about why he's disqualified and what you saw in that incident.
Well, he did. He got too close to some spectator boats on plane. You know, not the safest move in bass fishing we've ever seen. And guaranteed, you know, the juices were flowing for Gerald. Was not the best decision he could have made.
All right, Gerald Swindle goes on. He doesn't, at that moment, know that he's qualified. He goes on to fish, and fish a pretty good day, doesn't he?
He got it. That's a big one, too. Oh, come on. Come on. Yeah! 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 We ain't going home, baby! Come on, let's get out of this place. Let's go with it. Woo! Yes! Yeah! You want it! You were right! Yeah! Woo! Yeah! We ain't going home, baby! Yeah! I lost my voice, dude. Freaking lost my voice. Oh my God!
Don't call me, tell me to call Tripp.
Again, I done talked to him one time.
He said in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure it caught him totally by surprise. I told him he had been disqualified for violations of rules 5I, 6I, and he said, I understand, it's your call. I respect your decision. He said, I thought I was doing the right thing, going the way he did, and I said, Gerald, you should have idled through all those boats.
Why didn't they call me earlier and make that decision instead of like making me fish and do all that? I got disqualified. I got disqualified for running by you. Yes, I just got disqualified. I've never been disqualified.
He was pretty upset, you know, and he should be, because this is the Bassmaster Classic. He had a good string today, and he'd have been in contention to win tomorrow. So it's a bad deal.
Said it's unsportsmanlike conduct. They've watched the media, said it was dangerous driving, and I said, Randy motioned me on, but Tripp's like, if I waved you a red light, would you go?
The environment that I play the game in and the speed is extremely fast. To say that if you and I went and batted against John Smoltz tomorrow, it's going to seem pretty fast, ain't it? To Rafael Furcal, it's just going to be another pitch, right? To me, it was just another day at the office. To everybody else, it was dangerous. So my mind didn't process it like that. I made a mistake, and I'm done.
Everybody should know I didn't cheat. I didn't try to cheat. I wasn't trying to gain an edge. I made a simple judgment error.
Very emotional departure from the Classic stage for Gerald Swindle. Gerald Swindle will be back at the Classic. That's one thing you can bet on. Let's take a look at the rest of the weigh-in on day number 2. In comes Skeet Reese. Had a fantastic first day. His weight falls about 3 pounds on day 2, but still 14 pounds, 14 ounces. Good enough to put him in second place, the big stringer of the day. How about it? KVD, the big crowd there in the Birmingham Jefferson Convention Complex, ready to welcome in the #1 man in fishing, and he's ready for them with 19 pounds and 14 ounces. 2-day total of 32.15 for Kevin Van Dam.
Let the pictures do the talking right now.
We got a good tussle set up here. The big boys, Skeet Reese and Kevin Van Dam. How about our Federation Nation angler, Terry McWilliams, Alabama's Boy Duckett? That and more. We're going to get it going when we come back.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Bassmaster Classic is brought to you by Motor Guide. Never stop. Advance Auto Parts, providing car care know-how to protect your investment. We're ready in advance. Lawrence, we lead, we find, you win. And by the all-new Toyota Tundra, the truck that's changing it all.
Championship day of the Bassmaster Classic 2007. There's your leaderboard as we start this final round with Kevin Van Dam on top, 9 ounces ahead of Skeet Reese. But day one, Boyd Duckett of Alabama with the big one there, over 8 pounds. Kevin Van Dam brought him in on day number 2 to take over the lead. And Gerald Swindle disqualified for unsafe boat operation. It's been a big classic so far. Talk about the big story on this lake.
Here's the deal. One of the biggest keys to unlocking Lay Lake is current flow. We got a dam on the upper end of the lake and a dam on the lower end of the lake. Water comes in on the upper end, it leaves on the lower end of the lake, and this creates current. Now, you won't believe this, but the fish are programmed in this lake to know exactly when this happens. When the current starts running, it positions them shallow, and it turns on a feeding frenzy.
Go out to the lake and see if Kevin Van Dam can tap into some of this current and the bass that it produces. Kevin Van Dam won the Classic in 2001 in Louisiana, in 2005 in Pittsburgh, ready to go for a third.
It's so hard to get yourself in position in these things anymore. It's in any tournament, and then in the Classic, you know, gosh, day one was so frustrating to me. I really, you know, knew I was on the right fish, and I just couldn't get those quality bites. And so yesterday I had a little bit of payback on my mind, and you know, it worked out pretty good. So all you can ask is to have a shot going in the final day, and to go in with a lead. It doesn't get any better than that.
Let's take a look at Kevin Van Dam. Paradise Point Marina is our launch point all 3 days of the Classic, and we're looking at Kevin Van Dam's track and the fish catches he had on day number 2.
Right, and Kevin's main deal is fishing the mid-lake area. There's two parts of this lake right now that are really playing. The mid-lake area for largemouth and way up the river for spotted bass. Kevin Van Dam said coming into this, I'm not going to look at any spotted bass areas. I feel this tournament will be won with largemouth and largemouth only.
Any feel for when these fish are being caught, the time of day when they're doing best?
Well, you know, throughout the event, the fish have been smashing in the morning. I mean, you could lunch them the first 2 hours of the tournament, but it seems as the day wears on is when the bigger fish would bite.
Very early, 7:08 in the morning, and Kevin Van Dam, that one measures 12 inches or more. He's got his first keeper in the boat.
It's not the kind you win with, but feels good to get a bite.
Over now to Boyd Duckett, Demopolis, Alabama. Boyd Duckett qualified for the Bassmaster Classic through the Southern Tour. The Southern Tour is the level just below the Bassmaster Elite Series as far as these tournament trails go. 16 years of tournament competition Boyd Duckett has here on Lay Lake. He's got that big advantage going for him, and a lot of Alabama folks think he can win this thing.
Man, that sun comes out today. We're gonna go flip up some monsters in the mat today. It didn't rain enough to really muddy it up, you know, so to speak. Water will be up today too. They don't usually, very seldom draw current. Oh God, I just missed one. Oh, they're short striking it. Golly, it's 2 strikes I missed. Come on, sweetie, hit it again. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Oh no, he pulled. Oh my God. God, they're hitting it with a closed mouth. We hit it hard too. Oh man, that's 4 bites I've had here this morning. God, please stay on for a change. Oh, that one's not hooked yet either. They're just not hitting, so they're not hooked. Very good. Well, that fish is barely hooked. One little itty bitty hook left in him, and those spots just don't give up. They don't ever get tired, do they? Well, he's got it pretty good. Another good 2.5 pounder. That first strike I had went boom. Well, I'm probably leading this thing again. Kevin's probably still running.
Boyd Duckett does not lack for confidence. It's obvious he feels very comfortable out here on Lay Lake. And now, let's meet Terry McWilliams from the state of Indiana. Terry McWilliams, who qualified for the Bassmaster Classic a little over a month ago, just up the Coosa River in Lake Neely Henry. He qualified at the Bass Federation Nation Championship. He's one of our amateur anglers who are doing very well in this Bassmaster Classic.
Yesterday I had a limit by 8:30, then they just quit. So I'm trying to Get up here quick and get them while the getting's good.
This is some kind of spot that Terry McWilliams has right here. The Wilsonville Steam Plant. That's the smokestack you see in the background there. This is a steam electricity generating plant with an outflow pipe.
It's been a magical spot for Terry throughout the tournament. Two reasons why. There's always current. There's always water flushing through this plant. The other reason, it's about 10 to 15 degrees warmer than the rest of the lake. Most of the lake right now is about 50 degrees. This steam plant is between 60 and 65 degrees. The best thing about this spot, it keeps replenishing itself. Every morning Terry goes here, he'll catch him about 13 to 15 pounds. They'll reload within an hour, and then he could start upgrading.
That is strong. Terry McWilliams, who spent most of his working career in law enforcement with the Indiana State Police. He's retired now. Bass fishes a lot, and bass fishes with a lot of success.
And up in Indiana, this guy is a superstar of the Federation. He has fished the Federation 17 years. This whole tournament right here is 17 years in the making for him.
Head down.
What a big deal it would be for that Federation Nation. All those grassroots competitive anglers across the country, around the world, if Terry McWilliams could notch a win at this Classic.
Thank you, Lord. I thought at first it was another striper.
Terry McWilliams moving up that leaderboard. That keeper puts him into 5th place. Kevin Van Dam, take a look. The man still on top. Boyd Duckett of Alabama, Timmy Horton of Alabama, Steve Kennedy, and Randy Howell. All 4 of those Alabama anglers still hanging in there in the top 10. No one's ever won the Classic in their home state before. We got the kind of numbers that could make that record fall this time around. And when we come back, we got our bass spotter technology ready to fire up. 2 spotted bass in the Coosa River will follow their every action. That's when we come back. The Bassmaster Classic 2007 World Championship of Bass Fishing taking place on Lay Lake right here, just southeast of Birmingham, Alabama. Boyd Duckett from Demopolis, Alabama, one of the guys making a strong run on this 3rd and final day, trying to catch this man, Kevin Van Dam, a 2-time Classic champion, trying to make it number 3 here at this special week in Alabama. Going to take you on a special track from Paradise Point Marina, following Terry McWilliams of Indiana, our Federation Nation angler, fishing at the Wilsonville Steam Plant. Got a hot water outflow there, and he's taking advantage of it.
I'm only fishing for $500,000. What, you know, you figure up 38 years Indiana State Police, that's probably more than I made in 38 years. But it was good to me. It helped me raise my families.
Terry McWilliams living the dream, and today fishing the northern part, the upstream part, just below that Logan Martin Dam, a lot of current.
And every one of our spotted bass fishermen are throwing in the current. A lot of guys using jigs. Terry McWilliams throwing a small tube jig. And what they're doing, casting their baits upstream and letting the natural current flow pull the bait back downstream. These fish will sit behind anything they can, rocks, wood, then they'll ambush it as it swings by.
Terry McWilliams, when he found out he had qualified for the Classic back in January, the Federation Nation Championship, it was a very, very emotional moment for him. He has been competitive fishing for many, many years. Finding out he finally made his goal to make it to the Classic almost broke him up.
Woo! Thank you, Lord.
Over to Boyd Duckett now. Again, we harp on this need to fish flawlessly. From what we've seen of Boyd Duckett, he hasn't made any big mistakes, although he tells us that on day number 2, he lost a couple of very significant fish.
I'm a little disappointed that my spots are so freaky, you know. There wasn't boat traffic or anything like that messed them up. You know, they were just really, really shy this morning. You know, that first one, I barely had it hooked. First one. That's a good fish, too. That's what you want right there. Show me your face, girl. This fish is barely hooked, too. God, why can't I get them where I can swing them? Oh, see that one little itty-bitty hook. See that one little tiny hook? I pulled that one in. One little tiny hook's all that was in the corner. They're just short striking this morning. You see that? What's this? I mean, that one little itty-bitty hook right there. That would have been an easy one to lose.
Boyd Duckett doing the little things right, doing the big things right, looking very good at this point in time. We started doing a little thing last year called Bass Spotter. Did you enjoy that?
I love technology.
Let me tell you about Bass Spotters, where we take some fish, we tag them with radio tags, we release them back in the water very near where they were caught, and follow their movements over the course of the days leading up to a tournament. We've done that this time around. Take a look at our two fish and tell us all about them, Zeke.
This is amazing. We're going to name these two fish Leonard and Skinner.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the amazing thing. We went out, we caught a couple of bass on the main river in very shallow water, about 5 to 8 foot of water right off the bank. Well, we went back the next day when they had their transmitters on them. There was no current at all, and the fish were in about 15 to 25 feet of water, and they weren't moving much at all. You know, they were just kind of stagnant, not moving much. We went back to the hotel room, came back the next morning, and wouldn't you know, the current was ripping, and both of our bass, Leonard and Skinner, pulled back to the shallow water where we caught them, okay? They were in total feeding mode on the second day we checked them. And on day 3, we went back, and they decided to go back to the deeper water again when there was no current. So I guess what I'm trying to tell you is following these fish through the week, when there is current moving, you better be fishing shallow.
Pretty good advice right there. That's Bass Spotter for you. Watch the current, watch your bass, watch our leaderboard with us right now as we find Kevin Van Dam on top, unofficially 34 pounds and 8 ounces. Skeet Reese very close behind him. Terry Scroggins hanging in there for the 3rd straight day. Boyd Duckett will not go away. He wants to bring this one home for the state of Alabama. When we come back in his 25th Classic, Gary Klein, and there's Boyd Duckett. Still working hard out there. We'll be right back.
God, it's a big old spot.
The Bassmaster Classic 2007 World Championship of Bass Fishing. When this day's fishing is done, one angler will be $500,000 richer. How far the Bassmaster Classic has come through the years. How far has the Bass Federation Nation come during this tournament? Terry McWilliams there climbing up the leaderboard. Boyd Duckett of Alabama trying to be the first to win a Classic in his home state. Gary Klein, his 25th year in the Classic. He'd sure like to bring home a win this time around.
You know, and every single week we're here, we talk about guys fishing their strength, fishing a way they're comfortable with. Gary Klein, he's been doing that the entire tournament. Every bass he's weighed in has come on a jig, some sort of jig, whether it's a regular jig and pork or a spider jig. And if you're noticing, all the guys in the top right now, except for Kevin Van Dam and Boyd Duckett, they're mimicking the #1 forage in Lay Lake, the crawfish.
Gary Klein, originally from Susanville, California, grew up in that area near Lake Oroville.
That'll work.
Got with the Bassmasters immediately upon graduation from high school. He has built a long and storied career. Back in 2003, came in second to Mike Iaconelli in the Louisiana Delta in the Bassmasters Classic on kind of a wild and woolly final day. He's been so close. He's got 2 fourth-place finishes. He would really like to add that Classic to his resume this time around.
That's 2.
And let's talk about the 2 fish these guys are targeting today. #1, well, Tommy, it's the spotted bass. Commonly a smaller bass, prefers to eat crayfish. The biggest key to catching spots on Lay Lake, rock and wood. On the other side of that, well, it's the sloppy largemouth. Hangs out in shallow, dirty water. The biggest key on Lay Lake for the largemouth, you have to find grass.
Go over to Boyd Duckett now, one of our Alabama anglers who's doing the best so far in this final day of the Bassmaster Classic. 46 years old. He's been sort of in and out of pro bass fishing. He's having his biggest day in pro fishing today.
Definitely, Tommy, and he's had probably the most flawless game plan so far this tournament. He said, every morning I'm going to start with a rattle trap. I'm going to catch 5, then I'll pick up my flipping stick and try to hit a home run.
I mean, they might be biting all over the lake, and they might not be, but I tell you, this creek is just active this morning. See no reason why there couldn't be one right out here. There's one. Yeah, baby. That's a good one, too. That's a good one. God, it's a big old spot. That's a big old spot. They're so mean. These fish are so mean. I want to see some bass that look like you. You just stay on there for me, sweetie. Oh, yeah. Another 3-pounder. Getting some weight this morning. One more of those and we can go flip us up about 20 pounds today.
Going to pull away from Boyd Duckett, go back up the river, back up Lay Lake, and pick up Terry McWilliams, our Federation Nation contender, and he truly is contending on this final day. Last time a Federation angler won the Classic, of course, 1994, Brian Kirchhoff lost his life tragically not long thereafter, but he's been an inspiration. Low these many years, and today, the big inspiration coming from Terry McWilliams.
And what a phenomenal fishing spot here. If you look right there where he's throwing, where that water is pouring out of the steam plant, there's two key boulders. All of his fish are sitting on the backside of his boulder. Terry's throwing his tube lure upstream and letting it purposely hang up on the rocks, Tommy. The spotted bass are literally coming to the rock and picking his tube jig off of it.
Let's see if Terry McWilliams can put this bass in the boat. If this one is a keeper, again, we have a 12-inch length limit, just got to be over 12 inches. That's going to be a limit for Terry McWilliams.
Not wet, but I got him. Thank you, Lord.
Hey, guess what? This guy, unofficially anyway, has just pulled into second place, about 1.5 pounds behind Boyd Duckett. Over to KVD, Kevin Van Dam. We haven't checked on him a while. Again, Kevin Van Dam going for his third Bassmaster Classic. When he won the Classic in Pittsburgh in 2005, that was the third of 3 tournament wins in a row. So momentum is, of course, very big to Kevin Van Dam, and he's trying to get some momentum started this final day of the 2007 Classic.
And Kevin said it. He said, man, I need cloud cover. I need cloud cover to pull fish out of that bank grass. Well, he's ran into a much greater problem right now. The water has dropped about 1 foot to 1.5 feet. It's not only pulled the fish out of the grass, it's pulled his big fish off of all of these flats.
Final day of the Classic is not the day you want to go searching for fish, is it?
Definitely not. You basically got to stick with your game plan and grind it out. I mean, he's got a limit right now, but he's not catching anything like what he caught on day 2.
Take a look at that leaderboard right now, and Kevin Van Dam started the day in the lead. He's dropped down into 3rd place. Boyd Duckett of Alabama is our leader right now, and Terry McWilliams of the Bass Federation Nation bringing up in 2nd place. When we come back, can KVD figure this thing out and get it turned around? Boyd Duckett, can he bring it home for Alabama? And Skeet Reese still hanging in there, still lurking. The Bassmaster Classic 2007. This is the World Championship of Bass Fishing. Take a look at our venue, Lay Lake, near Birmingham, Alabama. The winner's going to win $500,000 plus. In addition, that winner has an opportunity to cash in more, much more, millions perhaps, the worth of winning this Bassmaster Classic. Let's take a look at some of the anglers who have struggled today, including Randy Howell of Alabama. So solid through the first 2 days of this tournament, but you talk about that one fish, Zona. There's one that's bad right there.
You know, Randy's had a great tournament. Fishing upriver where Jay Yellis won the 2002 Classic, and over to Terry Scroggins, probably the biggest name coming in this tournament. Whenever you talk about flipping heavy mats, you talk about Terry Scroggins. Well, he's had to do it with his spinning rod and spotted bass.
All right, a little tough for Big Show so far today. And Timmy Horton, did he put on a show the morning of day number 2 of this Classic? A twofer of spotted bass, 2 good ones right there. How can you lose when your day starts like that? Well, his day did not start like that on this final day. Timmy Horton is struggling here. 1 largemouth in the boat for Timmy Horton, but unfortunately, the man from Muscle Shoals, Alabama, that's his only bass of the day so far.
And now over to our leader, Boyd Duckett, who said, when I get to number 5, I'm laying down my crankbait, picking up the flipping stick, and all I'm going to do is flip trash all day. And that's not the only thing Boyd Duckett's got going for him, Tommy Sanders. If you look at this man, he's got a sweet beard, and above and beyond that, those Kevin Bacon Footloose shoes are money.
He is the man in the red shoes on this final day. Let's see if he can bring in a big one.
Yeah, baby. That'll help. Good one there, buddy. I got the big ones on this side.
Back over to Kevin Van Dam. You saw him bring in the big ones on day 2, the weigh-in here at the Classic to take over the lead going into the final day. Probably not the sight that the rest of this field wanted to see, a KVD atop the leaderboard. But today, as you mentioned, Mark Zona, his water has been taken out from under him. Yeah. He's struggling.
If you look at the rocks right there, the water's dropped about 1 foot to 1.5 feet where he's fishing. Totally sucked the water out and looks like it sucked a lot of his bigger bass out. Kevin Van Dam said he possibly could have lost this tournament on day 2, lost 2 giants right at the end of the day.
Kevin Van Dam again starts his day with the lead, but he's behind now Boyd Duckett. Unofficially, Kevin Van Dam is in second place.
Oh, barely.
That'll work. Get rid of that little one.
We have that keeper as unofficially tying Kevin Van Dam with Boyd Duckett for the lead in this classic. Now over to Skeet Reese, who's not won a tournament with the Bassmasters since 2003.
Keep them coming, boys. Keep them coming. Moving on up. Boom. Come on. Boom. I don't know, kids. It's going to be real interesting. See what kind of weight's in here. I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Definitely a spring in the step for Skeet Reese right now. These guys may not see an angler all day long, another angler, yet they somehow know when they've got momentum when they're moving up the leaderboard, and Skeet Reese is doing exactly that. That pops him up above Gary Klein from 5th into 4th place. So Skeet Reese has got it rolling. Boyd Duckett, Kevin Van Dam tied at the top. Our Federation Nation angler Terry McWilliams still hanging in there, hanging tough in 3rd place. When we come back, can Skeet Reese seize that momentum and make bigger things happen? And Kevin Van Dam, if anybody you had to pick could engineer a turnaround, get the momentum going his way, well, you'd have to pick Kevin Van Dam. And Boyd Duckett looking good right now. Can he hang on and be the first ever to win a classic in his home state? That's all coming up. Don't go away.
Stay on. Stay on, big girl. On there.
Yeah, baby. That's what I...
The Bassmaster Classic 2007, the #1 event in the world of pro fishing, and we are getting down to the final minutes here. One angler is going to win $500,000 when this fishing is done. We are getting very, very close to weigh-in time. As a matter of fact, back at the Birmingham Jefferson Convention Center, the crowds are pretty much already in place. The people come from far and wide, and they're going to be treated to a lot of excitement this afternoon. Will it be Skeet Reese that sets this crowd on fire? He has had a fantastic tournament. If Kevin Van Dam wins a 3rd classic, the place will absolutely go wild. And hey, don't discount what's going to happen if Boyd Duckett manages to win this thing for the folks in Alabama. This partisan crowd will absolutely be ready to explode. We got it all coming your way. Let's get out to the lake and Skeet Reese.
And what can you say about Skeet Reese? He has 17 top 10s since his victory in 2003. Not only that, Tommy, he came into this tournament, he caught 2 lone bass on this single half-mile stretch of Lay Lake. Somehow, he has managed to catch enough to almost seal the victory as of right now.
There's 5.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. 5. Woo! Finally! Now I gotta get rid of... If I had to keep that one, I would. But I'd like to get rid of the other tree in here.
The keeper right there was huge for Skeet Reese. Unofficially, we have that keeper jumping him into the lead by 2 pounds over Boyd Duckett. Now we're going back up the river, back up to Terry McWilliams, our angler who qualified through the Federation Nation. That's a great thing about the Classic. Just like the U.S. Open in golf, amateurs have a shot. If they're willing to put in the hours and do well in the tournaments, they can make it to this World Championship.
And, you know, if you really look at the footage that we looked at today, you know, Terry McWilliams, Randy Howell, Skeet Reese, and you get to talk to these guys when they weigh in. You take all of your conventional spotted bass knowledge when you come to Lay Lake and you throw it out the window. This is not deep water. It's not clear water and light line. You come here and you power fish. Talk to Skeet Reese. He said, man, all you got to do to figuring out spotted bass on Lay Lake, target fish, wood, rock, and current. That's it.
6 Federation Nation anglers qualified for this Bassmaster Classic. 2 lakes up on Lake Neely Henry. Even had an international angler qualify, Shigeru Tsukiyami of Japan. Terry McWilliams has had by far the most successful campaign in this Bassmaster Classic.
Woo! Thank you, Lord. That's what I'm looking like. That'll work. Coosa River.
It was Kevin Van Dam who came into this final day with the lead. A lot of people expecting him to just run away from the rest of this field and hide, but that is not the way the day has played out for KVD. Let's take a look at a recap of this day so far. And the first thing he notices was a difference in the water, right?
Yeah, you know, he came out this morning and said, man, I just want overcast skies and I'm going to cream them. This tournament's over. But he ran into a bigger problem. They pulled a lot of water out of his area, almost 1.5 feet. And Kevin Van Dam said, as much water as they pulled out, the bass went with it.
The first keeper came along about 7:08 a.m. this morning. It was a while later before he started catching. Put 3 in the boat fairly quickly, so it wasn't that long before his limit was in there. But those big bass, as you say, the big bass have been elusive for KVD.
They have been, and you know, the second time I've said it today, Kevin Van Dam said he didn't lose this tournament on day 3. He lost it on day 2. 2 key bites were lost.
Kevin Van Dam, who has won 1/3 of the Bassmaster Classics contested in this millennium since the year 2000, is going to have to really get on his horse and make something huge, and I mean huge, happen if he wants to pull out a win here on Lay Lake in 2007. Kevin Van Dam to go pick up Skeet Reese. We saw him in this last hour gain a lot of momentum. Skeet Reese from Auburn, California, who along with Dean Rojas, probably the top 2 high-profile West Coast anglers in this classic field this time around. Can they bring one home for the West Coast? Let's see.
I'm wound up right now. Who needs crack when you got tournament fishing? Yeah! Now we're cooking with gas, baby! Turn up the heat, kids!
Wow! Skeet Reese is high on his chances right now. Take a look at that limit right there. Looks very, very good. Unofficially, at this point now, we have Skeet Reese with the 4-pound lead over Boyd Duckett. One more time, we remind you that these figures are unofficial. Nothing's official till they hit the scales back at weigh-in time. Let's go over now to Boyd Duckett, who now we've got him in 2nd place. Can he make something big happen in these final few minutes of fishing as time runs out?
The fan crowd left too quick, didn't they? They quit believing. It's hard to get a bite, but man, this is the way to hook a big one this time of year, you know it? Wind's blowing now. So that wind blowing against it, it makes the worst thing it does, it makes the mats tight and there's no gaps. You have to swim off with it, you'd never feel a bite. This kind of wind, would you? Just didn't happen for me yesterday, did it? I'm not really sure. I can't really tell on all this wind whether that's a bite or not, but I thought it was. First one, there he is. That's what I needed right there. Lord, yeah. That's a good one there. Let's stay on. Stay on, big girl. Get my hands on that. Yeah, baby. That's what I'm fishing for. Woo! Yeah. Oh, that's what I needed right there. Oh, look at that beautiful fish. Would y'all look at that beautiful fish? Woo! Ah. Worked all day for that one. Whew, I tell you what, I'm gonna set you down right there for just a minute. God, fish is 7 pounds. Oh, God, that's what I needed. Whew. I gotta have a run at the 2007 Bassmaster Classic right here.
How about that for a little drama at the end of the day of fishing in the Bassmaster Classic? The final hour, and he puts one like that in the boat, and that changes everything. Boyd Duckett certainly now a definite shot at winning the Bassmaster Classic, being the first ever to bring it home. First time someone wins the Classic in their home state. KVD, Skeet Reese still in this thing as well. In fact, we have he and Skeet Reese in a virtual tie. We got a big shootout on the way, a big crowd ready for the big doings at the Bassmaster Classic weigh-in. Don't go away.
This is going to be close. This is going to be real close.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of the Bassmaster Classic is brought to you by the all-new Toyota Tundra, the truck that's changing it all. Triton Boats, we take America fishing. Purolator, pure oil now, pure oil later. And by Advance Auto Parts, providing car care know-how to protect your investment.
Welcome back. It's time for the moment of truth in the big one, the Bassmaster Classic. Weigh-in time, and all these weights we've been looking at through the course of this program have been unofficial, taken from the water out there. So let's take a look at the guys we've got in contention here, including the Federation Nation angler. Terry McWilliams has got a shot at it. Kevin Van Dam's got a shot at the third Bassmaster Classic. Skeet Reese, who hasn't had a big win since 2003, almost 4 years now. And Boyd Duckett of Alabama among the guys trying to bring it home. Terry McWilliams up first. The Federation Nation angler can make it into fourth place. Gary Klein, fishing in his 25th Bassmaster Classic, makes 5th place. Timmy Horton had a tough day on that final day. And here we go. Boyd Duckett, fantastic. That big one helped him to a 3-day total of 48 pounds and 8 ounces. Now Skeet Reese comes along again. He's one of the top names in the business, but hasn't had a win in a long time. Would like to break the drought with this classic right here.
14 ounces. You have pretty much escaped all those little monkeys that were on your back, but that is bass fishing's 250-pound gorilla. This is going to be close. This is going to be real close. Before we weigh these fish, Boyd, why don't you come on up here and take a look at this. One of these two men is going to become the 37th Bassmaster Classic champion. Kevin Van Dam needs 15 pounds and 12 ounces to earn his 3rd Classic title. Here we go, Trip. KVD looking for 15-12. 12 pounds, 5 ounces. Boyd Duckett in the record books. Bassmaster Classic champion right at home in Alabama. Demopolis, Alabama, 2007 Bassmaster Classic champion.
I mean, these are just the guys that you look up to, but to get a chance to fish with them and actually win this thing, and right here in Alabama, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this.
So Boyd Duckett, we've told this story before, had the Classic in his home state for several years, had many opportunities to attend the Classic, never wanted to go until he could compete in the Classic, and he goes there and he wins the thing. 46 years old, Demopolis, Alabama. Next year he's going to step it up to the next level, compete in the Elite Series. What a way to kick off your season by winning $500,000. Hats off to our 2007 Classic champion, Boyd Duckett. And sir, if you got a tape of that at home, I suggest you take some measures to make sure you don't record over it, because you might want to hang on to that. Boyd Duckett joins us on the set. Congratulations, Boyd.
How are you, Tommy? Good.
Fantastic job. Mark. So happy you could be here today. I want to ask you one quick question to set it up. If you say 100% is a Classic winning effort, how much of that 100% was your local knowledge, fishing for 16 years in tournaments on Lay Lake? How much of it was making the right decisions at the right time, and how much of it was just not making big mistakes?
Well, I guess I didn't get to use the local knowledge or the local advantage. Myself or Russ Lane, we both know the lake really well, and the lake just didn't fish like it should have that time of year, all that cold weather coming in beforehand. So I guess keeping an open mind, going into it open-minded every day, it was really a mental tournament, and I had anticipated that.
Now, you've had a couple days to think about it. Where do you sit right now and go, that's where I won the Classic, right there.
No doubt, having the mental determination to keep the flipping stick in my hand. I knew that if I went and caught a limit each day and kept that flipping stick in my hand, that was the only way I could win the Classic, and I was able to get a couple big bites every day, which is, you know, it just panned out for me.
The main drama, of course, was that big fish near the end of the day. Let's take one more look at it. I think you could probably take a few more looks at it.
I can look at it forever.
One more time. The place you were in the situation you were in.
Now, Boyd, I'm going to ask you, did this one kind of take you by surprise right here?
Well, it did. The wind was blowing real hard. It was blowing probably 20 miles an hour that day. Had a big bow in my line. I just told my camera guy, you know, if this fish going to have to swim off with it before I can feel it. I made 3 or 4 more flips and felt a little pull on it, set the hook. I got a little out of shape there, as you noticed, but it's in the boat. That's all that matters.
All right. Here's probably the most impressive thing to me about you in this Classic, and I said this, you know, time and time again during the commentary. You're against the guns, okay, of the sport, the Kevin Van Dams, the Terry Scroggins, Skeet Reese, and Bud, you are a hammer. You are as calm as could be. Was there ever a time in your head that you were like, dude, I can win this thing?
You know, I had a lot of confidence. I fished the Classic really well. I tried to prepare myself mentally so that I did that thing right, you know, and tried not to let the Classic get in my head. The only time it really bothered me or I was affected by it was after the tournament. I felt like I had enough to possibly win, but sitting in the back room there when I'd made the Super 6, you know, with all those guys, you know, heroes of mine, and being competitive and having a shot to win, that was very overwhelming.
Well, you're a heavyweight in the wallet right now. We don't have to say that again. $500,000 for Boyd Duckett there. There was a little more money available for that Classic win there. Of course, you get the Pure Later big bass of the tournament. Happens to belong to this man right here. 8 pounds and 2 ounces on the first day. And what a shame you had to split the Berkeley heavyweight of the tournament. 19 pounds and 14 ounces with Kevin Van Dam. He's a greedy man, isn't he?
Well, you know, he got $4,000 of my money. He probably looks at it differently, but, you know, that's okay.
Congratulations again on your Classic victory, Boyd. Good luck on the Elite Series. Everybody's looking forward to you getting out there and maybe winning some more tournaments. How about that?
That's the plan.
Thanks for being with us. We'll begin the Elite Series next time we see you from Lake Amistad on the border between the United States and Mexico. So that's how we'll start it off when we see you right here next time, the beginning of the Elite Series for 2007. Join us then for the Bassmaster Tournament Trail.
He's got it pretty good.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to Bassmaster.com.
Yeah, baby! That's what I'm thinking.